We'd like to ask both of you what your thoughts are on Acts 15:20, read the food laws for Gentiles. In particular, we wondered if Christians should avoid halal meat or food as it has been offered to idols. Let's just stop there because it goes on a bit, and let's deal with that. It's a good question, this, you know, the Acts 15.
It's a valid question. First of all, we have to understand the context of Acts 15 is about Gentiles coming under Jewish law, kashrut, the Jewish dietary laws.
Correct.
It says not to do that. But the questioner also rightly points out there are prohibitions in Corinthians and elsewhere about eating food sacrificed to idols. We see this also in the words of Jesus himself in the book of Revelation in the message to the church of Thyatira, eating food sacrificed to idols. Halal meat is sacrificed ritually facing Mecca, and if you take the belief, as I do and as others do, that Allah is not the Judeo-Christian God, but is in fact the Nabatean moon god, which is supported by archaeological evidence, that Allah was the name of the ancient Nabatean moon god. Although it's a generic term for God in Arabic, as a proper name, Allah is not Yahweh. In this idea, it is eating food sacrificed to idols. However, I would go beyond it. It's not purely the issue of Islamic food, of halal meat. If you eat halal meat in ignorance, it's not an issue. Paul says, eat what is set before you. The problem becomes when you eat it in such a way as you're ascribing a belief that it's somehow been sanctified to another God, or it's going to hurt your testimony or compromise your belief in the one true God. That's where it becomes an issue. In other words, the New Testament teaches, don't ask, don't tell. However, and now I'm not trying to offend anyone, I'm just attempting to answer the question. Eating food sacrificed to idols. In the book of Revelation, Jesus talks about this, that the seductress beguiles his servants to eat food sacrificed to idols, seduces his servant. This draws on the imagery of course, Elijah, those who eat at Jezebel's table. The belief of the Protestant reformers, and I believe correctly, they themselves having been Roman Catholic priests, is that transubstantiation becomes Jesus Christ incarnate. He dies again sacrificially in the ritual of the Mass, and then his literal corpse is eaten and his literal blood drunk, which contradicts Acts 15, abstain from blood. If the Eucharistic blood of Roman Catholicism was the actual blood of Christ, it should not be drunk. Vampire religion is fundamentally outlawed by the teaching of the apostles. Hence, I would say it is not simply an issue that applies to Islam. It is an issue that applies to transubstantiation. Saved Christians should not engage in transubstantiated practices of communion. The Lord's Supper, yes, but not transubstantiation.
Okay. John, who wrote this question, who posed this question from Acts 15:20, also goes on to say what you were just alluding to earlier, which was we might inadvertently do something, like, for example, going to the marketplace, buying chickens that have been sacrificed in a similar way. How would they know? Because it won't actually say halal meat. And other things like a takeaway, you know, maybe it's an Indian takeaway. Predominantly Indians are not, you know, sort of Islamic. They're more, find that in Pakistan or Bangladesh. Yeah.
Yeah, if it says halal meat, you should know that that's what it is. But it is possible to do it inadvertently. Again, the New Testament teaches a don't ask, don't tell policy.